to start off by measuring the window so we know what size of window to order, and you want to measure it in multiple spots. So first we're going to measure here. It's 48. Also 48. We'll measure up at the top. And we'll measure down at the bottom, and that's 48 and a half. So we want to order a window that's the smallest dimension, so we're going to order a window that's 47 and a half on all sides. That way it gives us room for weathering and caulking. Okay, since this wall and window has already been caulked and painted in, I'm going to take the razor and score it along the edge and cut it so that when we remove the window it doesn't pull big chunks of the plaster out with it. This window has a few interior screws, so I'm going to go through and make sure all the interior screws are out, and that's very important to do. This one I got lucky because it's a cross-point screw, and I have a cross-point power screwdriver, so you can use either a regular manual screwdriver or a power tool. The next step is to take the sliding part of the window out. So we're going to move it so that it's in the middle so that you can take a hold of it. And you're going to push it up and pull the bottom out, and it comes right out. The next step is to take the center post out, and to do that we have a little brace right here where there's a screw going down to the base and a screw going to the side, and there's the same thing on the bottom, screw going into the side and screw going up, and so we'll remove that. Now that the screws are out, we're going to try and break the center post free by using a mallet. It's moving out very slowly, so we're going to work at the top and the bottom, but you still have to be careful not to break the glass out of the pane. Managed to move the window away from the wall, move it more towards the center. Since this is a sliding window, we move it towards the center so that we can push it up and pull it out. Since we're taking the window out and we're going to be replacing the frame, we don't really care about it. So to help us get the window up if it's sticking, you can use a pry bar or screwdriver like that to get it free. Now we're going to remove the frame, and as you can see right here, it's been cemented in to make up for a discrepancy in width. Up there it didn't need it, but down here it did. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull it from this side, and this side will probably have to be pried out. Out a lot easier than I thought. Now, in order for the new window to fit in easier, we need to clean out all of the old grout and caulking and everything around the windowsill. So the last step for cleaning it up is to get the ridges off so it's nice and smooth and ready for the new window. And then we're going to take a vacuum and clean up all the debris. And my preference is to find a guy to come and clean it up for you, but if you can't, you can always do it yourself. The new window we're going to put in is a dual pane, low E, argon-filled window. It has a U factor of 0.3, a solar heat gain coefficient of 0.21, and visible transmittance of 0.48. And this window took about 10 days to order and get in from the local hardware store. Okay, to install the window, to make it easier, we're going to remove the screen, and to make it lighter, we're going to remove the window. But in order to remove the window on this one, it has a locking feature that you can't, this is a safety feature that you can't push up the window with this here. So we're going to slide it over so that we can push up the window and push it up and pull it out, and it comes out really easy. The next step before we put in the window is to use a countersink, and we're going to countersink the hole where you're going to put the screw to attach the window to the house. And the point of a countersink is so that the head of the screw will be flush with the inside of the window. Actually, putting the window in place is actually a two-person job, so I have my little sister here to help me. Above the ledge, set. Ellie, push it in. There you go. Okay, this is a spirit level, and right now I'm checking for plumb, which is straight up and down, and you check for levelness horizontally. And as you can see right now, the bubble's right in between the two lines, so it's just in the right spot. Once you have the window level, plumb, and centered in the window area, then you're going to take and use a drill with a masonary drill bit to drill into concrete and brick to make a spot for the concrete anchor screws. When you drill it, you want to make sure that you drill as far as the screw will go. So on this one, we're going to drill until the drill goes about that deep into the window. Once you have pre-drilled the hole, then you take your concrete anchor screws and screw them in. The last hole. Okay, in order to fill in this giant gap up here, we're going to use some of this, which is called backer rod, and it's about 3/8 of an inch, and so we'll just push it up in there before we foam in around the window. Once you get to the corners, if there's any extra, you can trim the extra. To cover up this 1/2 inch gap up at the top, we're going to cut a piece of trim to cover that. And the inside, since it's smaller, we can use caulking to cover that up. But I'm going to foam it from the outside, so in order to keep it from seeping in, I'm going to use tape to cover it up so that it only goes so far. The next step is to take a window and door foam sealant, and this doesn't actually expand as much as some of the other ones, and you want to be sure to get the right kind, because if it expands too much it can actually put pressure on the window and actually make it hard to open and close your window. So when we put this in, we're going to try and put the nozzle of the foam all the way to the back and let it expand out a little bit, but we want to stop before it expands out too much because we can go through and do a second layer. And you don't have to come out all the way, because you can go through with a controlled one after that dries, and it's really easy to cut off with a razor blade. Now that the foam is dried, I'm going to trim it with a razor blade to about 1/4 of an inch below the surface of the window, and then we'll fill it in with caulking. Now that we're done trimming all the foam, we're going to take this mortar caulking to fill in the area all the way around the window. And a trick to do that, to keep your job nice and neat, to make sure that the caulking doesn't get on the window or the brick, is to tape it off. Now I'm working my way down the wall with the caulking. We're trying not to get too much on the window and too much on the brick. In the low areas we'll have to put a little more than some of the higher areas, but we're not too worried because we can smooth it out with our fingers and a putty knife once we're done. Now I'm going to smooth out the caulking with my finger, and it's okay for it to look rough because the original mortar was a little more rough looking. So when we go through and smooth it out, some areas, because the caulking sticks to your finger, you might need to use a putty knife because it doesn't stick to it as much, and you can push it up into areas where it's missing. And over in areas like this, we want to kind of spread it out into the old mortar so it kind of looks similar to what the old stuff looked like. Once you have finished the caulking, you want to make sure you remove the tape before the caulking sets up and dries completely. And then, after you remove the tape, you'll need to touch up any spots that were messed up from the tape removal. And we are almost done. These spots up here were pulled out when I removed the tape, so try not to touch the window. You just want to press those down and smooth it out. And with that, we are all done installing our new window. And to recap, we removed the old window, went down to the hardware store and purchased a brand new window, and the window plus supplies cost just under $200, and it takes about 2.5 hours to install from start to finish. And don't forget, you have to wait overnight for the foam to dry before you can put in the caulking. Go Cats! Yeah!